All right, so I'm so excited about what I want to talk to you about today. It is so topical. It is actually quite personal. I care deeply about this message, and it occurred to me this morning. So it's Thursday. The podcast normally actually comes out on a Wednesday, but for a number of personal reasons, I was not able to record this for you yesterday, but I'm here today and I'm actually really, really glad that it took me the extra day, because the idea for today's podcast only came to me this morning on the back of a LinkedIn post that I read on my way back from having coffee this morning, and it's so valuable. I'm just so grateful to be able to share this with you today. So what we're going to talk about is resourcefulness, specifically how resourceful you are. And what I want you to hear in this episode, if you're listening to it on the podcast, what I want you to hear if you are watching the video of this, however you are receiving this information, what I want you to hear, to process, to internalize, to take away, is that you are resourceful. You are a resourceful person. You are remarkably resourceful. This isn't me teaching you something that you have to be or need to be. This isn't me offering you a tool, a tip, a solution. This is me mirroring back something that I already know in my bones to be true about you, and that is that you are resourceful. So let me wind back to the LinkedIn post that gave me the idea for this topic today. I was actually sitting outside QuickFit. So for those of you who aren't in the UK, QuickFit is it's like a car mechanic place where you go and get your tyres. They do tyres primarily, right? So if you've got a problem with your tyres on your car, you go and get your tyre changed. You can call QuickFit and they will do it quickly for you. So there's a nail in one of my back tyres and I had to go and drop my car off at QuickFit this morning, right? That's just your context. So as I was sitting waiting for it to open at 8:30 this morning, I read a post on LinkedIn which was celebrating the fact that a big Magic Circle global law firm was really recommitting, really honouring its commitment to DE&I, to developing Black talent over the next 3 years. And it was such an uplifting and amazing post that was just so obviously so topical and important right now at a time when there's a lot of change. There is, as a result of Donald Trump now being president of the US and the vast number of changes that he is implementing at a rapid, almost alarming rate, and specifically in the DE&I space, there's a lot of fear right now. People are losing jobs. There's a lot of uncertainty. Budgets are being pulled. So right now, the fear is, the question on everyone's lips is, and in fact, this was a question that came up in Be the First, the group coaching program, my signature program for mid to senior level lawyers who want to progress to the next level. This was a question that came up in a group coaching session yesterday. Caroline, what's your take on the current environment? What are law firms doing? How are they responding to what's going on? Like, are they staying committed to their diversity initiatives? Are they staying committed to supporting us as Black lawyers? So this post came at such a good time. And for sure, so many people will have read that and felt reassured. Thank goodness, right? The law firms, the big names, they are staying committed. They are not being swayed. So I was sitting there feeling celebratory too. And then I thought about how brilliant that news was for the lawyers, the Black lawyers in that firm. How amazing it was for them to feel that they still had the support of their firm. And then I thought, what about the people? What about the Black lawyers who don't work there? How do they feel reading that? And then my brain offered me the memory of lots of you who I've spoken to actually who work for law firms or organizations that don't invest in their DE&I, or they do invest perhaps, but not necessarily in Black talent. So either they don't invest at all, They are not interested at all in diversity, equity, and inclusion. They certainly don't invest in Black talent and developing that talent. And potentially, maybe they did invest and now they're going to stop. So I thought the question my brain offered was, what about everybody else? What about those of you who don't work for firms like that, don't work for a big five, for a Magic Circle firm, don't work for a big organization that's committed to and willing to stay committed? What about you? How does that post make you feel? How are you feeling in this current political climate? And all I could think was how scared you must be feeling, and how alone you must be feeling, and how much despair you must be feeling as you hear the news of DE&I initiatives being scaled back, of quote unquote woke, the kind of war against woke. I think that's how I've read one particular article talked about, expressed it as. That must be really hard for you to be processing right now. And so there are two reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this today. One is I want you to know you're not alone. First, foremost, most importantly, you are not alone. Even if you are the only one, the only Black lawyer in your team, in your group, in your organization, in your law firm, in your department, or one of very few, always, I'm going to take you to the thought, I'm the first. That's much more empowering, right? That's what I teach you. It's a strong philosophy that I am spreading around the world and I want you to adopt. So there's that. But I also, in the very tangible, real sense, circumstantial sense of you feeling alone, I want you to know I am here. You are not alone. You're not alone because there are so many others like you who are feeling the same way. You're not alone because I am here to guide you. It is my passion, it is my purpose, it is my mission to be a guiding, shining light to those of you who feel alone, who feel like the only ones, who feel like the circumstances outside of you are so impenetrable and so big and so hard that you can't possibly succeed in the face of them. This is my purpose, it's my role. I think everything that has happened in my life, everything I've experienced up until this point has been preparing me for this role. It has been about me being the person that you know is here, that you can turn to support you when the circumstances around you feel so big, so impenetrable, you feel lost. So you're not alone because there are more like you, and you're not alone because I'm here. If you are listening to this or watching this for the first time, the first thing I want you to do, I want you to pause the podcast or pause the video, however you're experiencing this, and I want you to follow me. I want you to do two things. Follow me on social media. You can choose your platform. I'm still figuring out Facebook. We have a tricky relationship, so if you're on Facebook, bear with me. In the meantime, find me on LinkedIn, Caroline_Flanagan_. Find me, that's my Instagram handle. Find me on LinkedIn, which is Caroline Flanagan 00. Either way, put in Caroline Flanagan. I'm always wearing my red dress and I've got a big smile on my face. Find me on social media. Don't just follow me, click the bell in my profile so that you are always seeing my posts. And I'm going to come back to why that is so important in a moment. There are lots of reasons why it's important, but there's a particular reason I want to talk to you about today. The second thing I want you to do is get on my mailing list, right? So go over to my website, carolineflanagan.com, and you will, if you scroll to the end of the page, you will find a link to subscribe to my newsletter. Hit that link, put in your details and subscribe. And that way you will also you're not relying on being in social media at the right time or the algorithm offering you my posts at the right time. This way you are going to get regular emails from me at least once a week, where I am teaching, where I am role modeling, where I am inspiring you, where I am empowering you, where I am motivating you and reminding you of your value, of your power, of how resourceful you are, which is what I'm speaking to today. So stop the video, stop the podcast, do that right now. Make sure you're following me, make sure you sign up to the newsletter. Okay, so coming back to today's topic then, you are resourceful. I'm offering this to you. Remember, I'm the mirror reflecting what is already true about you. So what I want you to do as a result of this session and what you hear today is to make it your mission to find all of the evidence of how that is already true. Make it your mission to work on your belief that that is true. Build your belief. If you doubt it for a second, if you doubt it just a little bit, I want you to do the practical work of thinking, I am resourceful. I am resourceful. And that literally starts with you repeating it, I am resourceful. And it continues with you looking for evidence everywhere, every day. When you think about experiences you've had in the past, looking for evidence of that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's bring it back to basics. What does it mean, resourceful? So I wrote down in my notes my definition of resourcefulness, or being resourceful. And then I thought, I'm just going to look in the dictionary and see what the Oxford English Dictionary says. And it says this: resourceful, it means able to find quick and clear ways to overcome difficulties. I was really surprised when I read that. Able to find quick and clear ways to overcome difficulties. And my thought was, that's a short explanation for a really big word. Like resourceful is such a big word. If I think about how I have made it from growing up on a council estate in a very poor part of Birmingham and a very poor upbringing, right, to where I am now, living in my beautiful house with my wonderful family, with a career I'm so proud of and successes I'm still achieving, like successes and achievements I could never have imagined would have been possible for me, right, when I was a young girl. And thinking also about the goals that I still have, and I am ambitious enough and determined enough and believe that I'm going to achieve. When I think about that journey, I owe all of that to my resourcefulness. I owe it to other qualities too, but resourcefulness is absolutely, I'd say, one of my top 3 qualities. So you can just imagine my surprise when the Oxford English Dictionary reduced, in my mind, this word to 2 lines. Able to find quick and clear ways to overcome difficulties. So here's what I want to offer. You're very welcome to the Oxford English Dictionary interpretation definition of that word. For me, and a way in which I think it can be more real and more useful for you, what I want to offer is being resourceful means you just have the ability to find a way. You will find a way. I don't think it has to be quick and clear. It's quick and clever. I couldn't read my own writing then. I don't think it has to be quick and clever, actually, as the dictionary says. I don't even think it has to be about overcoming difficulties. I think being resourceful is about knowing you want to achieve something and finding a way to do it. And the key there is finding a way. Not knowing how you're going to do it, not having all the circumstances around you be all lined up to support you to do it, but you finding a way, no matter what. That includes you overcoming difficulties. It includes you overcoming obstacles. It includes you rising to challenges. But the key is that you just find a way. So I want to offer, when I say to you, you are resourceful, what I'm saying is you can find a way. Whatever it is you are trying to achieve, you can find a way. Let's look at where you are right now and how that might not be playing out for you, or that might not feel true. So many of you I speak to, you're in one of 2 camps. Either you work for a firm or an organisation where there is budget to support you in your career development. And your thinking is, if I'm going to do anything to develop my career, it's the firm who should pay. So I've had a lot of you actually jump on consultations with me, and you've shared with me that you want to progress your career, you have these goals, you have these aspirations, you face these challenges, you want help to overcome them. And you're completely sold on the value of, say, joining, for example, Be the First, or joining Confident Black Lawyers. I'm going to talk to that in a moment. Those are my 2 offers for you, depending on where you're at in your legal career as a black lawyer. So you can see the value of those programs, those coaching programs. You want to progress. You can see that those programs will help you to progress, but you're just going to go and check with your firm because you want your firm to pay. And that's not a problem. What I do want to point out to you though is if your firm says no, will not give you the budget, then what happens is all of your desire to progress your career, to overcome those challenges, then gets put by the wayside and neglected because the firm said no. Instead of you finding a way, you knowing what your goal was and finding a way, you knowing that it's within your power to find a way. Instead, what you're doing is thinking, oh, well, the firm won't pay, therefore I can't. And I'm seeing this played out a lot. And what's interesting is if that's you right now, the fact that D&I budgets are being pulled, the fact that there's less investment in developing black talent, by way of an example, what that means is you're probably feeling quite hopeless right now. Because not only was it, oh, well, they said no the first time, now it's looking like, well, they'll never support me in my career. Or you could be in the camp where there's absolutely, I'm just trying to think about this, there's actually two more. There's one where you were supported and now the budget's being pulled. So now, actually, this could possibly be the hardest, most challenging one. Maybe this is you. You were receiving support. There were initiatives to support you as a black lawyer internally, but that's now being taken away or being massively scaled down. That can feel terrible. You can feel like something has been taken away from you. That for sure can make you feel scared. What is happening? We're going backwards. For sure you are feeling powerless with that right now because what you've been used to is the firm investing in you, in your development. The firm being the one to spend the money on supporting you. And now the firm's changed its mind. You're feeling powerless. Suddenly the circumstances aren't supportive of you. They aren't conducive to your progress. And then there's the third category where you've never worked, right, for a firm or an organization that ever even pretended to be invested in you. And for you, perhaps what's interesting is it may not feel that things are too different, like immediately in your day-to-day experience, to how they were before if you never had that support. So I just wanted to cover all of the different angles or experiences you might be coming to this from. But what they all have in common is this feeling of being alone, of feeling afraid, and most importantly, feeling powerless. So my aim today, I've already talked about it, is to help you to recognize that you are not alone, but over and above everything else, for you to know you are not powerless. I want to help you find your power. I want you to remember how powerful you are. And there are lots of different ways that I'm going to be doing that over the coming weeks, months. This is what I do in my role, in my work, in my career, in the coaching programs that you join. It is giving you your power back, showing you how powerful you are and giving you the tools, teaching you the concepts that help you to see that and help you to implement that practically in your life in a way that creates unbelievable results for you. I can use that word. My results, the successes, the achievements, where I am, what I've created by internalizing, by working what I am teaching you, all of that is unbelievable. And if I can create that for me, you can create that for you. Certainly with my help, you can create that for you. You don't even have to figure it out yourself. I can literally teach you what's worked for me and what will work for you. I think back to my childhood and growing up and the challenges that I had to overcome. And one of the strongest beliefs I had that changed actually everything for me from the moment I started believing this was the conditions are never perfect. I used to say that to myself over and over and over again. I remember being at school and having lots of challenges at home that were really interfering with my thinking, my mindset, I wouldn't have called it mental health then, but they were really playing on my mind, making it hard to concentrate at school, making it hard to focus, really, really struggling internally with so many things as a result of my challenging family background. And I remember one of the things that kept me going to and studying for my GCSEs, kept me going at A-level was this: the conditions are never perfect. And what that did was remind me that there was no point or moment at which the circumstances around me were all going to line up beautifully and make the path forward seem easy, make success guaranteed, take away the fear and the doubt. There was never going to be a time where progressing, where succeeding, where achieving my goals would be a walk in the park, because everything was lined up to support me, because there was never going to be a time when I was going to have a perfect family or a perfect house and feel really secure and have a home and have, I don't know, I'm thinking about the kind of stereotypical perfect life. Like, that was never going to happen. And me having the thought the conditions are never perfect was so powerful in spurring me on to step into my own power. And what I mean by that is stop focusing on what was happening outside of me, which I had no control over, that I couldn't change. Stop waiting for those circumstances to be perfect. They never were going to be. And really start focusing on myself, really start focusing on what was possible for me, what I could do, what I could control. So I think I learned as a skill from a very early age not to wait for the circumstances outside of me to change. Never to wait for them to change. I knew I would be, one, waiting potentially forever. Two, that change was not within my control. And as long as I was waiting for circumstances outside of me to change, then I just felt powerless. Then I was just playing a waiting game. And then if they didn't change, then where did that leave me? And I'm sharing this with you because I think now, more than ever before, we need to hear this message. You, as a Black lawyer, absolutely need to know that the circumstances outside of you will never be perfect. If they were going to be perfect, they would have been perfect by now. We've been working pretty hard, right? Pretty hard in trying to change things. The circumstances outside of you will never be perfect. The conditions will never be perfect. There are things outside of you that you cannot control. And we need to look at that and be honest about that, not to feel defeated, not to feel hopeless, but the opposite, to empower ourselves, to feel. Actually, less about to feel and more to stand in our own power. Because as long as the circumstances aren't going to make it easy for you to progress, make it easy for you to get that training contract, make it easy for you to get that newly qualified role, make it easy for you to be made up for partner. As long as the circumstances aren't going to make that easy for you, the only thing you have left is you and your resourcefulness and your skill set and all the other qualities that you can bring. Part of me, of course, feels disappointed, as you do, that there's a question mark now over the progress that we will make over the coming months, the coming years in the DE&I space. Yes, disappointed with that, a little bit, like uncertain. But there's a part of me jumping for joy at what a phenomenal opportunity this is. I promise you, my friend, this is a great opportunity for you to step into your power. If you are able to step into your power and recognize that there are circumstances outside of you that not only can you not change, but you do not have to depend on, you should not depend on, because those circumstances can change. As long as you're able to recognize that and access and therefore come back to your internal, your own personal power, the more powerful you will be, the further you will go, the greater impact you will make, the more you will astound yourself by what you are capable of. This is a great opportunity for you to remember who you are, to access your resourcefulness, and to let the changes that you want to create in the world, to let the goals that you want to achieve for yourself, the success you want to have, to create that for yourself from your own power. Because that is enough. Here's the thing. What you already have, you are already enough to create any result. I talked about unbelievable successes, achievements, unbelievable results. That's how I describe my life now. It is unbelievable because it doesn't make sense how a little girl born into, we used to call it broken homes. I don't think you call it that anymore. Challenging circumstances, very challenging family environment, struggling, having to be like being schooled as the lone single black pupil in an all-white school, everything, all the different implications of that. It doesn't make sense how a young girl from Bromford, surrounded, like when all of the other kids were pregnant at 14 or being arrested or just having kid after kid after kid and no aspirations, no goals. It doesn't make sense how I was able to go from there to where I am now. The only reason it can make sense, the only reason it can be believable, the only reason why it's true is because of the power and the capacity of an individual, one person. How much bigger we can be as an individual, one person, when we access our power, how much bigger than the circumstances around us we can be. That's what I want you to take away. Whatever your circumstances right now, however bleak it feels, however hard it feels, however hopeless you might be feeling right now as you read the news, scroll on social media, hear what's happening, however much you may be despairing about what's possible, remember this. You are resourceful. You can find a way to achieve whatever you set your mind to. Here's what I want you to do as a result of this session. I want you to go away and I want you to think about all of the evidence you have, find all the evidence you have that this is true, that you are resourceful. I want you to write it on a sticky note and put it on your desk. I am resourceful. I want you to reflect on that thought, I am resourceful, and what it means. Here's what it means for me. Here's what I do when I have that thought and I hold it front of mind, no matter the circumstances. Number one, I focus on what I can control. I'm going to give you some examples. I focus on what I can control. And here's some, as I go through these examples, have a think about okay, could I control that? And if I did, what would that look like? So focusing on what I can control means I can control the relationships that I build at work, the people around me. I can control how willing I am to learn. I can control how determined I am. I can control how I respond to failure or something going wrong. I can control my willingness to ask for help. I can control who I surround myself with, what I expose myself to. This is so important. I remember I grew up in South London, Brixton, in the early 80s, very different to South London and Brixton now, especially as a young black girl. And I remember it used to reverberate around our community, it's because if anything didn't work out, if you didn't get a job, I got rejected from McDonald's. I applied for a job at McDonald's, I got rejected. Whatever it was because you were black. Oh, it's because we're black. Oh, it's because places like that don't want people like us. That was something my mother said to me when I got rejected from an all-white school. And here's the thing. The issue is not whether that is true. The issue is, what do you want to think and how does that serve you? So I remember specifically everyone saying that to me. Every time it was said to me, it's because you're black, I would inwardly completely rebel against that. I would be like, yes, but that doesn't serve me, because one thing I cannot change and do not want to change and will never change is my blackness. So me surrounding myself with people who for whom every hardship or challenge or setback or failure boiled down to the fact that it's because you're black. Like, that was so, for me, it was like, oh, it's because of something that's completely out of your control. So I rejected it. And this is what I want to say is something you're in control of. You are in control of what you choose to think, of how you choose to interpret what's going on around you. And some of those thoughts and some of those interpretations will take you out of your power and leave you feeling, well, the circumstances are what they are. What am I supposed to do? Some of you right now are thinking, well, I can't get a job. How can I get a job? There's a backlash against DE&I. There's a war against woke. Some of you right now are sitting there thinking that I'm helpless. What am I supposed to do? It's not my fault. And you're focusing on all of the situations, the circumstances outside of you. And I'm not saying that's wrong. What I'm saying is that will keep you stuck. Nothing will ever change. And you will spend your life being a victim of those circumstances. And what I want to offer is you get to choose to think differently. You get to choose to surround yourself by people. For example, following me on social media, signing up to my newsletter, just as an example. You get to surround yourself with powerful thinking people. People who think powerful thoughts. People who think and believe and know they are resourceful, that they can figure things out. You can be in control of that, of who you listen to, of who you surround yourself by. The relationships you build, I've mentioned. The help you ask for. They're just some examples of what you can control. You can control how you show up. You can control, oh my gosh, there's so much, could go on and on and on. The second thing I want to share with you that happens from the place of I am resourceful, in addition to you focusing on what you can control, you work with what you have. You look at where you are and you work with what you have. When I was revising for my GCSEs, me and my brother were sharing a flat in London, in Camberwell. Very, very, very different place in the 1980s to what it is now. So much so you couldn't pay me to go back to Camberwell. No offence to those people who still live there. It was quite a traumatic time in my life living in Camberwell. We didn't have any beds. I was revising for my GCSEs. I didn't have a desk. I didn't have a bed to sleep in. So I worked with what I had. You know what we had? We had some spare tyres. My brother had left school. He was doing some odd jobs on a scrapyard and on cars, like learning how to do mechanics. We had some spare tyres. I took 4 spare tyres and I piled one on top of the other, and I put a bit of plasterboard on top that we'd found in a junkyard. That was my desk. That's how I studied for my GCSEs. And then what I did, every single night I dismantled that desk, took the board off, pulled the tyres off each other, and I lay them in a row, one after the other, right? And put a sheet over it, and that was my bed. What I'm showing you there is the capacity you have to find a way. That's an example of what you can do when you're willing to work with what you've got. And because I was willing to do that, because I worked with what I had, I got all the GCSEs I needed to get to be able to do my A-levels. I then went on to do my A-levels and apply for Cambridge and get the grades I needed to get to Cambridge, people. This was at a time when there were no black people going to Cambridge. This was at a time when this was at a time when there was no D&I. It wasn't a thing. There was no Oxbridge initiative to be more inclusive. There was no pressure or conscience around diversity. None of that. And I'm emphasizing that. I cannot express it enough how much that was a product of my willingness to be resourceful, my focusing on what I could control versus what the circumstances were outside of me that I couldn't change and the conditions that were so far from perfect. I worked with what I had. And I want to offer that you can do both of those things, and both of those things will be enough. I don't care if Donald Trump is president and he's making all of these changes. Right now, you have so much more power than you think. And I'm here to show you. I want to help you see it. So come with me. Come with me, follow me. Come with me on this journey to rediscovering how powerful you are, remembering who you are, reconnecting to your resourcefulness. That's what I want for you. All right. I'm going to leave it there this week. I hope this has given you so much to think about. Write to me, DM me on social media. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me how this is landing. Tell me when I say you are resourceful, when I say you can be bigger than the circumstances, how does that land with you? How does it feel? Does it give you hope? Or are you leaning back thinking that's just not true? It can't be possible. How is that true? Whatever you're thinking and feeling as a result of this message, I'd love to hear from you. I want to know where you're at right now and what you're struggling with, because I'm here and it's my mission, my passion to help you. All right, that's it from me this week. I'll be back next time. Have a beautiful week. Be resourceful, my friends. Bye for now.